Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish. Everyone's falling in line, all because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, here's your host and MC, 'cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, 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 yeah. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mondays with Marcus, a live stream of consciousness. I am your host and MC here tonight, Marcus Goldhaber. It is a pleasure to be with you here again on Monday, June the 7th, in a very cozy climate. Today we've been our third day in a row around 90 degrees here in New York, and coming to you from this studio with zero air conditioning in it at the moment, because it would just make too much noise. So I thought, well, if we're going to be hot, we might as well be really hot. So I took out the felt hat and I thought, all right, let's do this the real way. But it's a wonderful weekend. It's a great time to be outside and grab some sun if you can. It's been a fun week. I got to see my dad this week. He came uptown. We played a little catch, which was nice. Get to sit outside a little, have a little nosh. So it's nice to see that people are gathering together again, and even still doing so safely with and without masks, of course, if they're vaccinated. And so it's nice to see that little lift. So today, folks, we have such a great show for you. Normally at this point in the program, we would check in quickly with our friends on Mars, but I'm telling you right now, not a heck of a lot to report, and I think it's probably because I'm getting a little numb to, what are we doing? Just a lot more remote activity on Mars, picking up samples and flying helicopters and, whatnot. The same old, same old. Let us not lose sight of the fact that we are still, controlling machines on another planet at the moment, which is definitely pretty cool. But, no new major flights, and we haven't had any, major discoveries right now as of this moment. So I would like to check in with my dear friend Seth Asa, if he's hanging around here and available to come on and say hello. And just like that,
Hi,
Seth Asa,
how are you?
Oh, you know what, Seth? I'm great. A little sticky. I won't lie to you.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
hot
little,
here too.
it's a little like, this is like cut through the air with a knife kind of. It's it's, as Neil Simon would say, this is Africa hot.
Yeah,
It's,
it's definitely hot. Hot
it's
on the East Coast today.
yeah. What's with the dog days of summer in June?
Right?
But what are you gonna do? Are you getting this in Pennsylvania as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're in the one air-conditioned room in the house, and we've been holed up here for days.
Oh, wow. Okay, held hostage by your air conditioner. Wow.
Indeed.
I hope it's not. I hope you can pay the ransom soon. Um, well, that's not. I'm glad to see a smile on your face as always. And you, of course, just got back from doing a great show at Portland Stages in Maine, which I'm sure you're wishing you were probably in Maine at the moment. With those
Actually, it's hot there too.
really 90, they get 90 up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I always wish I'm in Maine,
Oh
but
well.
yeah, it's very hot there too.
This reminds me, this heat. I started talking about this a little bit before, but I didn't get to really tell you. I did regional theater years ago, 1998, 9, and 2000, in a wonderful summer stock theater. I was just out of college. Actually, I was still in college, and it was called the Saxton's River Playhouse. Near and dear to my heart, and always will be. And backstage, the dressing room was notoriously the hottest place on the planet. But usually back then it was, we didn't get this heat until August. But you have to imagine dressing rooms that had down the center of it that the costumes hang right above your head, right? Because it was a converted barn, summer stock and whatnot, shoestring budgets and all. And so, but they would do full big productions, and costume designers and set designers were all from New York and Broadway credits and whatnot. And so everything was done with a very high standard, just like, like Aladdin, itty bitty living space. And so we
Right.
cram all this stuff in. And I remember we were doing a little night music and wearing these period costume pieces, 3 and 4 layers, every character. And of course, you've got these costumes hanging above your head as you're getting ready and you're trying to put on powder and powder to dry up. And you're running. And in those days, it was in reps. So you'd be rehearsing a show during the day, performing a show at night, and sometimes doing the kids' shows and the cabarets and whatnot. Anyway, I digress. The heat there is what this feels like now. It's that dry kind of heat that just kind of sucks it all out of you. And you.
I worked at an Idaho Shakespeare Festival for a number of years, and there was one summer where we teched uh, the the Three Musketeers, and it was 110 outside.
Wow.
And these guys
Out
were
in the
the
shade,
musketeer
actually.
costumes were like layers of wool.
Yes, fencing, because that's what you
So
do in 110 degrees. I like to go fencing.
right,
Well,
yeah,
well,
yeah. I like to flip over tables and do really complicated fight choreography. That's the
and
perfect thing for
are
that.
they wearing the leather boots, or they had
Yep,
spats on? The
yep,
real.
and wigs and everything.
Oh, wow. Must
Yeah, it was
be
brutal.
another day at the office for you and me, of course.
Right.
It must be Tuesday. All right, Seth. Well, listen, I gotta go because, as you know, it is now time for Name That Verse. All right, folks. Well, here we are at Name That Verse. You're getting a nice little side angle of my face, and that's cool because the side of my face is nice, and it's a good thing that I shaved, and you get a nice little clean line. But maybe, Seth, if we can change that camera angle, maybe let's see if I can help out here. Oh, look what I did, and now we're gonna have some fun tech stuff. Hey, look at that. I think that was my fault. That was my fault. But now here we are at last. This is why it's a live stream of consciousness, folks. I do love Seth. Isn't Seth great? He's such a cool cat to work with, and I'm so grateful for him. So, Name That Verse is a fun little bit that we like to introduce in the beginning of the show where I'm going to sing the verse of a song and you are going to guess what song that is from. And for those of you who've been tuning in, my dad is instructed not to participate this time. And even if he did, I will say I don't think he would get this one that I've chosen. Comes to us from 1921. More on that later. And I will sing the verse. You are to guess the what the name of the song is. And the winner, the first person to put the correct song title in the comments box, a donation will be made in your name to Samaritans, an organization that I regularly support. This is an organization whose mission is suicide prevention and mental health awareness, education, and grief support as well. And you will also get a free copy, not to bury the lead, you will get a free copy of any of my CDs that you should like, and I will ship it to you free of charge as well. And you can check out my website, or we're going to toss a graphic up later of the albums to choose from. There are 5. Without further ado, however, this is the verse to a song written in 1921. Little Lily was oh so silly and shy, and all the fellas knew she wouldn't bill and coo. Every single night, some smart fellow would try to cuddle up to her, but she would cry. Name that verse. Oh, all right. What fun we're having today. Oh, look, and you get the duel. I'm telling you, I'm going to blame everything on the heat today. Anything that happens is all because of the heat. I'm telling you, it's wonky out there. It's like, they say Mercury and retrograde or whatnot, but this is like, I don't know, maybe the moon has reversed its rotation or the planet is on a different axis. I don't know. I'm feeling it. I've been doing all kinds of weird stuff this past week and weekend. Anyway, so alas, we get to the moment of the show that I love the most. It's when I get to introduce my guest. My guest today is an incredible bass player, swinging cat, such a jovial personality, a lover of hats, if I do say so myself. And I was so thrilled to get him on because he and I, we've been, seen each other at various clubs and whatnot, and I've definitely heard him play a bunch. And we've made some music together on the scene, casual and jams and things like that. We never had a chance to really sit down and have a chat, and so I'm really looking forward to getting to know this incredible songwriter, again, bass player, band leader. Please welcome to the podcast and live stream, Mr. Michael O'Brien. Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, look, and he comes with his own applause track too. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it to yourself at least.
I mean,
Gotta
there
set
you
yourself
go.
up. Yes.
There you go. And you're looking mighty fine today. I appreciate you got a really solid, cool. Your look actually makes me feel a little temperature-wise, a little cooler, and
Well,
just
thanks.
cooler in general. But you look like you're very, you know, you look like you're cool. How are you? How are you doing?
Well, I'm making it through the swelter myself too. Yeah, I thought I'd match your hat with my favorite summer hat, but then you went full felt, which is a bold move, dare I say. That
It's
is.
listen, when all bets are off, full felt is the way to go. Uh, I
Yes.
always say, uh,
Well,
go felt or go home.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's words to live by, for
Yeah.
sure. That's it.
Oh man. So all right, well you're doing well. I know you've been incredibly busy actually. At least that's how it seemed. But that's why we're here. I want to
Right.
ask you more about, I know we've all got our social media and our online persona and whatnot. And I'm not by any means saying that yours is
Of
any way
course.
different from how your real life is. But should there be other elements that you want to talk about, today's the space for that. Now, before we get into that, I just want folks to have a quick idea of who they're exactly talking to and have the privilege of hearing speak.
Oh,
Just a little background. You studied bass with Anthony Cox of John
I did.
Scofield and Pat Metheny and Jerry Allen fame. Now, you also, and I didn't know this, you studied West African and Haitian percussion
I
with
did.
Mark
Yeah.
Anderson. Okay. So that's little tidbits that I picked up. I know you as, like, when I first met you, again, you blew me away musically.
Oh,
And
well,
then I
thank you.
know you as the, first call of many leaders in town. You work with my dear friend Michelle Walker, Amy Allen, and Allison
Yes. Yeah.
Briggs.
Hmm.
Also, I love the band you're in with Steve Sandberg,
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh,
that
yeah.
rock and bass player Zotarelli. What's his first name again? Uh,
Mario.
Mario Zotarelli. Oh man, that band is amazing. Um, and Paul Ballenbach, to say the least. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
also you also worked with a few celebrities, among which Ruben
Uh,
Blades and
yes.
Harry Connick Jr.
Yes.
Okay, more on that later.
Okay.
First, let's just take me back to your childhood. Um, what music was playing when you were growing up?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that question. My parents had a very incredibly eclectic collection of records. Like they were children of the '60s, early '60s. They graduated from high school, so a lot of it there was a lot of like early rock and roll, a lot of
Mm,
classic '60s rock, and some '70s stuff. But also, my dad loved and was way into soul music, R&B, and blues, and my mom had a classical collection, really big classical collection. Uncle of mine worked for Capitol Records back in the day, and he was able to hook her up with like their catalog for it. Um, yeah, so like we'd have spontaneous dance parties in the house to like classical music, and Hall the Mountain King, just like everyone just running
hold
around the
on,
house
hold
by
on,
the end of it. And like,
hold on. I got to back you up. You had dance parties to classical music?
well, yeah, because like I guess when we were like seeming a little squirrely and rowdy, she'd put on Hall the Mountain King, which starts out slow, but by the end it's like really fast.
Ah,
So by the end of it, we're just like running around the house and like spinning around and like
got it,
jumping on
got it,
things, and
got it.
finally tired, she would tire us out. It was all kind of her strategy, but
I was
yeah, I just
picturing like
remember.
the neighbors are coming over, and it's like, oh, bring it's BYO. They're having the classical dance party again tonight. And,
Yeah, get the
come on,
Chablis.
Bart,
Yeah,
let's go.
that's you know, put your Ravel shoes on. It's Bolero night.
Oh, I should have worn mine if you'd have told
Oh,
me.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean that was one of the things. But then my dad would work in the garage, and he'd always have like the oldies channel or oldies station on, and it'd be always
Mm,
a lot of Motown and classic soul music and old rock and roll and whatnot. And so, it was like I learned that, that repertoire seeped into my mind, as well as a lot of good swearing, a lot of really choice swearing in the garage,
Right.
working with Dad,
Right.
helping him
Wow,
out.
that's great. What did you guys build? What was one of your favorite projects that you built together?
He was a big car guy. He loved
Okay.
rehabbing cars, and he would. I mean, he was a school teacher in the Minneapolis public schools where I'm from, and as a way of like supplementing the income, he would buy and sell things, and he also loved doing it. He loved like chatting with people, so he was like grabbing hubcaps, and like if we'd see a hubcap on the side of the road, he'd pull over and be like, "Mike, go get that hubcap." And I'd run up
That's amazing.
and get it, and like he'd resell those radios, everything. But cars, and he had kind of a mission of like fixing cars up to be affordable, good cars for people who didn't have a lot of money. So he was like, that was kind of one of his things. But then his side passion was also like old cars from the 40s and 30s and 50s. So there was always like our driveway was always full of cars. And the garage was so full of equipment and gear and tools that you couldn't park a car in it.
Are those cars still in your family?
No, he never held on to them very long. He was really about selling them. So he would like, spend like a summer working on like a 1950 pickup, and then, by the, maybe fall or early winter, he'd be able to sell it. Well, it was Minnesota, so you had to kind of wait until the next spring to be able to sell it, really.
Yeah, no, I love Minnesota. I mean, the winters in Minnesota and the way that you all handle snow. I'm from Buffalo, and
I know, yeah. You guys are some of the few that get as much or more. Like
right, but when last time I was in Minnesota was I think it was in the 90s, and I was so impressed by the way that you carted it away.
Yeah. Man.
Growing up for us, it was plowed to the side of the street, and then it was like, or I lived in a court, and so all the snow was piled to the center, which was amazing because it was like every winter we had an automatic snow mountain
King of the
slide
hill
down and dig through, and King of the Hill, right? Exactly, all that.
Yeah.
But when I was in Minnesota during the winter, I was watching these carts, like these trucks carting the snow away, and
they're really good at that. I mean, I have to say, now that you mention it, I've noticed that. I remember that now living here in New York, I'm like, what are you guys doing with snow? It's like, it's not, it's like they've never had snow in this city before. Sometimes I just wonder, because in Minnesota, and I'm sure in Buffalo too, you guys know what you're doing with snow. I mean, but I even noticed that I was on tour in Russia in Moscow, and it was snowing like crazy, and they didn't even do any plowing or shoveling. They're like, it's on you. You got to deal with it.
Snow, who cares snow?
If you fall, it's your problem. You're stupid.
What snow? No worry about snow.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly.
Go eat the snow. I love snow. I'm done. I'm doing the rest of the interview in Russian accent. No, I think Buffalo may have taken a page out of Minnesota's book in terms of how they deal with it. I feel like the more we talk about snow, the cooler I feel. So this is good.
This might be a good topic to kind of keep around.
We'll just keep talking about snow the rest of the interview. Michael, so you grew up in this eclectic musical house with dance parties to classical music, and I didn't hear you mention jazz.
My parents were not big into jazz, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So
did they forbid it? Was it the devil's music?
No, not at all. They just it just wasn't their generation, really. I guess my grandmother, my mom's mom, was a big jazz head. I mean, she was a Lindy Hopper back in the day. I mean, her favorite song was Alexander's Ragtime Band. She was doing the flips and the twirls and all the stuff.
Wow.
So I mean, for her, so that was her thing. But they're younger, and so their music of their generation was more. They connected more to the music of their time.
Sure. So then,
I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
My dad's mom is from Puerto Rico, and so when I would go, so for her, then like I'd go to her house, and it was all Julio Iglesias. She'd be like, "Oh, Julio, I love Julio so much." So it's like so it was boleros, and then classical dance parties, and soul music.
So then where did your jazz influences come from?
Well, it came from high school band. That's when I started high school jazz band. My high school was really remarkable. But now when I think about it back, and I've talked to other musicians, people especially from the Great Lakes area of the Midwest, and this is probably your experience in Buffalo too. But I got music and arts in the schools were really appreciated. And there's a lot of money spent in it. Like my high school had a jazz band for credit, a big band for credit, a concert band, a string orchestra, choir, theory classes you could take for credit. Yeah. So it's like a really remarkable situation, which I've come to in appreciation in hindsight much more.
Totally.
Talking to other people and knowing what's going on now. So yeah, my first experience was that, and luckily our band teacher, our jazz band teacher, was really great. He was a professional trombonist, so he gave us kind of a higher level of maybe of education than necessarily maybe some other folks did. I don't know. I mean, but I do know from this band that a handful of us have stayed on as professionals from that band alone,
Wow.
which is kind of a remarkable thing. I don't think that
Yeah.
happens too often.
No,
Unless
I
you're
mean,
from an arts high school, and this was not arts high school. This was just
right.
public school.
Did you, I mean, did they sit you down and say, all right, you have a choice. You can play trumpet, saxophone, flute, clarinet, piano. You don't have to carry that around with you. And you were like, I need something heavier. I need some work in addition to learning the music.
Yeah, I like a little
The
boot camp
manual
with my
labor, you know,
music.
my dad's a car guy. I'm used to,
Yeah,
getting in there.
yeah.
Why? So yeah, why the bass? What drew you to the bass?
Well, the base became that was a circuitous route, and that'll take. I'll take that. We'll take that journey together, and this is where I'll touch on the West African music as well. I started on saxophone in elementary school. In an elementary school band, they did that. You know, it's like, what do you like? Here's a bunch of instruments. What's interesting?
Right.
What's interesting? So, for some reason, I really gravitated towards the tenor sax. That really spoke to me, and so we got a tenor sax, and my parents, were, indulgent enough to rent or lease the instrument and then finally buy it, and so they're really supportive in that way, and I'm really grateful for that. They got a saxophone. I had the saxophone, and for me, when I was 12, the tenor sax was large. It was not my
It's large for me now.
I mean, it's like the case, if I stood it on its end, it came up to my chest or near shoulders at the time. So yeah, I mean, that is a big instrument theme is kind of a thing. So I would trudge that down to my school and play that. And I really took to that. And when I got into junior high, I was playing in band, but then all my friends this was in the 90s, and everyone's listening to grunge rock, and I'm in Minneapolis, and it's like one of the core centers of grunge rock and alternative rock. And so none of my friends were playing anything that required a saxophone, but everyone was playing guitar. And I was like, well, I like kind of playing groovy little bass lines on the saxophone. I'm already kind of writing these little grooves on saxophone. Why don't I try bass? And so I got a bass guitar when I was 14. And then I just decided to be adventurous and industrious. And I went to my junior high band teacher and said, look, I got this electric bass. I'm teaching myself how to read on it. I mean, maybe we can double. So I played double in junior high and high school. In my jazz band in high school, I would play bass on some tunes and saxophone in the saxophone section on others. So then it wasn't, and so jazz really got the improvising bug in me. I started to really love. I realized I loved to improvise. It really kind of caught me. There was a kind of passion for it. And so that's what got me really kind of going into the direction of jazz. And then at about the same time in high school, a friend of mine, he was working at a Red Lobster, and he just happened to be, the guy who was making Hush Puppies, I think, was studying African percussion with a master drummer in St. Paul, which is not that far. I mean, we like to think it's a chasm between Minneapolis and St. Paul and Minnesota, but they're, right there.
Yeah.
And so he said, a buddy of mine's taking some African drum lessons. You're kind of playing some percussion. I was kind of getting into like the 90s kind of coffee house, groovy kind of quasi hippie scene. I had a band called Inspirational Coffee. We wrote our tunes. I played bass, electric bass, and I was strumming on it and singing, and a guitar player. We had a person playing bongo. And so he's like, you're kind of getting in that already. So why don't you study with this guy? So I went, and his name is Mark Anderson. Right. I know, not the most, not a name that you would think, oh, African drumming, of course. But
immediately I was like, it's a given.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. But Mark studied with his mentor was a man from Ghana named Soa Mensah. And he took Mark under his wing, mentored him. Mark had gone to Ghana many, many times and studied there and played. And also here in New York, he met with a Haitian drum master and started studying Haitian drumming. And when I would go to his studio, and Mark also of known, he and a guitar player named Steve Tibbetts did a bunch of records for ECM Records in the 80s. And they would do a lot of touring as a duo, guitar and percussion duos all over Europe and the US. So those are people to check out too. They're great. I mean,
Wow. So you've had a
So
really
yeah,
eclectic journey that brought
yeah,
you to the band. And I love how it's all organic too. Like a lot of people that come on and we talk and they're like, well, for me, it was this person. For me, it was, if it's singers, a lot of them, it was either Ella or Sarah or guy,
right.
men have their, but for you, it feels like it was like you were self-led, you were attracted to what was inside you, which is really, I think kind of an evolved state for a high school kid to go in and be like, well, I taught myself this bass guitar, and now I'm gonna just jump over and go to the double. I also know you to be someone who's a deep lover of melody.
Oh,
When I've
well,
heard
thank you.
you, and when I've heard you out and sung with you a couple of times, like I said before, in the jams, and so, that was another reason why and I'm glad to, it makes sense, I guess, that you started on saxophone too,
Right.
because when people think of the bass, they don't think like there's a lot of opportunity to explore melody in
No,
your, even in your solo moments and whatnot. And you're always relied upon for, let's say, other tasks and responsibilities,
indeed.
keeping things together and whatnot in the
Yes.
band and the rhythm section anyway. And so where, like, did you always have that commitment to bringing the melody to your bass playing? Did that spark start with the saxophone? You weren't just, I know you said you were writing bass lines as a kid, but
Hmm.
at some point, I mean, you've developed this deep relationship with the melody, and you carry that in a lot. And I know we're going to hear some of that too. So, but before we do,
Sure.
sort of you could, just speak to that relationship a little bit.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, that's, well, and thank you for listening so educatedly or so intently. I appreciate
It's
you
the
actually
only way
noticing me.
I do. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks. I feel like
You
you are
do it.
like, thanks for noticing me.
No, you make it easy, man. I'm telling you,
Oh, well, thank you.
it's really easy and it's so swinging. But please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I guess the upright bass for me then, after I was studying West African percussion, and I was at kind of a crucible or a pivot point where I was really wanting to go into being a percussionist. I was getting work as a percussionist, and I was actually working my way up to being able to play just in like supportive drum parts for some Ghanaian dancers in like Soa Mensa's wife actually. So I was able to accompany her, not being a lead drum, but I was able good enough to not be kicked out. and and uh,
That's a
and
good
I
bar
a friend, yeah,
set.
yeah,
I don't need to
exactly,
get hired, really. I just don't want to get kicked out.
yeah, exactly.
I'm going out on the market saying,
They
let's,
keep letting me stay around, so I'm doing something okay. And so a friend of mine, this is about I'm 20 years old now, and a friend of mine, another bass player, a guy who played electric and upright bass, said, "I'm selling my beginner bass. I'm wondering if you'd be into checking it out." So I went over to his place, and I played the upright bass, and it was just kind of this epiphany. It was like, boom, this is the sound
Hmm.
that has been kind of I've been looking for. I didn't even know I was looking for, but this is it. This is the sound because it's percussive like percussion. It's bass like my bass, and with a bow, I can play it like a saxophone. So that it just became this confluence of like this is all the voices that I've had in me, all in one instrument. So that I was just like, this has got to be it. This is the one. So then
That's
I put everything else down, and I just like stopped everything and just shedded bass my entire 20s. I was like, that's so I was like, I knew I'm starting way behind other people, classical kids. I mean, that usually the earliest they start is like 12, 11 if they get tall enough. And so I'm like, I was like, okay, I'm 8 years behind most people. I got to just haul tail and work. And then right at that same time, Anthony Cox had just moved back from New York area to the Twin Cities. And I just being 20 and not really kind of actually not really realizing his like presence in the world music scene. I was like, hey, you want to teach bass? And he was cool enough to be like, yeah, come over to my house. And so I studied with him out of his house for a handful of years. So I
wow.
got insanely
Yeah,
lucky that I got a teacher of that caliber. I mean, at the time he was on the road with
sure.
Joe Lovano and like, winning Grammys and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure that helped make up for the time that you felt like you were,
I think it did.
had lost.
I think it
Well,
did.
this is a great segue. I think we, having heard you talk about your process and journey to the bass, I'd love to hear something if you're up, if you got your bass handy.
I got
Um,
the old bull fiddle over here. Yeah, I'll
you
pull
got
her
the
out.
whole fiddle. So please pick her up,
All right.
and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear now live from bassist and formerly of former fame of inspirational coffee. Please put your hands together for Mr. Michael
Perfect.
O'Brien.
I'm gonna have to send that to the guys in the band that I was with. They'll get a kick out of that. So I figured, since it's June, I'm in New York. I thought I'd do a tune that involves that in the lyrics. So I'll give you a little bit of a. How about you? How do you like New York in June, huh?
Absolutely beautiful. This is all I got. I don't have any of those applause tracks and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Woo!
We
Yeah.
keep, woohoo! I figure, especially since you come with your own, and you
Yeah.
you do that after your own performances too. I know you at the clubs. You finish playing and then you just hands up. You're like woohoo!
Yeah.
Like something you do normally anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael O'Brien. Now, Michael O'Brien, that How About June? You recorded that on an album, I believe,
I
that
did.
called Triage. Is that what that's on? Or is
No,
that
that
on?
one's
No, it's
on
on Tunes I Like to Play.
tunes I like to play. Yes.
Tunes I Like to Play. So that's an album, and I think we have an album graphic for that that we can
Oh,
toss up there. Tunes I Like to Play. Look at that, and just
sorry.
like that, this is the album. And in the little bottom corner there, on the right or left of your screen, you can see where you can pick it up on Amazon Music and Bandcamp. I think is another site.
Oh,
Of
you're
course,
too
you
kind,
can
sir.
stream it on Spotify and all the rest. We also have a little graphic for how you can support Michael O'Brien, and there is his Venmo, folks. So you can
Oh,
send him money directly and support his musical efforts and endeavors, and follow him online and whatnot, and check out his music on YouTube as well. He's got a lot of great videos up there, and
yeah. Thank you.
you get a sense of a lot of what we've talked about. So, Michael, thank you so much for being in the show here and chatting with us. We're going to talk some more.
Oh,
You're
it's
going to
my
stick
pleasure.
around for the after party. You're not going anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. You can head on over to the green room, have a nosh. We take care of our guests, so
Oh,
you
there's
can.
catering. Nice.
Of course. Just go in your kitchen, open up the fridge, have whatever you want. It's on us.
It's funny because it's full of everything I like. You guys think of everything.
That's what we do. That's
Yeah,
what
you
we
guys.
do here.
Well done. Well
So
done.
it's our pleasure. So thank you again, Michael. Don't go anywhere. We will
All
be
right.
right back.
Great.
Folks, if you're thinking to yourself, man, this is so much fun. I'm having a great time. And I just sent Michael some money and I'm like, I got a little more money. I want to support this series. We have some overhead, we have a few expenses, and we're going to cut right to how you can support us. What does your donation do? Your donation helps me keep working with Seth on a daily basis. It keeps the lights on for me, keeps us running on this platform. It keeps me being able to connect with you all. You can do either PayPal or Venmo. If you do PayPal, please try to remember that you and I are friends. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And of course, you want to head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe as well, so you can get updates on our videos that I'm posting of live performances and whatnot, and also past archived episodes. Now, if you're sitting there and you're like, well, this is great. I've supported Michael and I've supported the series, but I want to do more. And here's your opportunity to do that. You can also purchase some of my CDs if you like. And those are right here. Like I said before, there are 5 to choose from. And now's a good opportunity if you participated in the Name That Verse, and you still have a moment to do so, though I think we do have some guesses that came in, and I think I might have seen the correct one too. But any of those albums are available at my website, and of course, anywhere else you like to stream your music online. Folks, speaking of Name That Verse, it is now time to find out what song I was singing during Name That Verse. Okay, here we go, folks. So, what I sang before. Little Lily was oh so silly and shy, and all the fellas knew she wouldn't pill or coo. Every single night, some smart fellow would try to cuddle up to her, and she would cry. Ma, she's making eyes at me. Ma, he's awful nice to me. Ma, he's nearly breaking my heart. I'm beside him. Mercy, let his conscience guide him. Ma, he wants to marry me. Be my honeybee. Every minute he gets bolder. Now he's getting on my shoulder. Ma, he's kissing me. All right. Well, we did have a winner, and the winner goes out to, I believe, to Basilio, and his YouTube name is Cyclopsic, and I just outed his alias there. So congratulations to Cyclopsic. You are the winner. We will connect, and you will get your free copy of whatever CD of mine you would like, and I will make a donation to Samaritans in your name. Fun fact about that song, by the way, written in 1921, the same year that my grandparents were born. Why is that interesting? My grandparents, born in 1921, raised my mother playing these types of songs around the house. My mother then raised me playing not only these types of songs, playing this specific song around the house. This is the only reason I know this song is because of my mother. My record label is called Fallen Apple Records, and you'll see the logo up in the corner of your screen, as in the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. Ma, he's making eyes at me, 1921, Con Conrad and Sydney Clare. Thanks for playing, folks, and I hope you had a great time during the first half of the show. That's going to do it for this first half, and I hope you enjoyed getting to know Michael O'Brien a little bit. And next week, we have an incredible singer and songwriter joining us. She is so swinging. Svetlana. Do you know Svetlana? Whew, you better tune in next week and get to know Svetlana on June 14th. But before that, we have this after party coming up, and Michael's going to stick around for that. He's going to share some more of his artistry, and he's going to share a secret with us that he's never shared before with anyone on camera. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. But first, I want to say, we've come together for a moment today, young ones and some who would rather not say. Finding connection isn't easy, I know, and that's why I created this show. See you next week, unless you stick around for the after party. Bye-bye. Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish. Everyone's falling in line, all because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, he's your host and MC, 'cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, 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 yeah. I meet a girl, my heart is free. Then I'm not sure if she's for me. Oh, how I wish I wasn't constantly in the oeuvre of the in-between. I call her up to say hello. What happens next? Well, I don't know. This is a case that I can't seem to face in the oeuvre of the in-between. Now if my heart could make its mind up, then I would choose that special one. But every time I do, I wind up with 1,000 questions, answers for which I have none. So I will stay alone and free, away from pain and mystery, until I find the girl who'll live with me in the oeuvre of the in-between. Now if my heart could make its mind up, then I would choose that special one. But every time I do, I wind up with 1,000 questions, answers for which I have none. Now if my heart could make its mind up, then I would choose that special one. But every time I do, I wind up with 1,000 questions, answers for which I have none. So I will stay alone and free, away from pain and mystery, until I find the girl who'll live with me in the middle of the feeling or the thought that's unforeseen, in the oeuvre of the in-between. All right, folks, welcome back to the after party here at Mondays with Marcus, a live stream of consciousness. That was a song I wrote called In the Oeuvre of the In-Between, and it's from an album that's called Take Me Anywhere, as I drop everything to grab it. Here's the album right here. We dispense with the graphics to show you the actual physical CD. These things really were a love, a passion project. Michael will tell you there's a book inside. It tells the whole story of the album, who was on it. This album recorded at Acoustic Recordings, beautiful studio in Brooklyn, engineered by Michael Brorby and mastered by A.T. Michael McDonald. Incredible team. The band. Mr. John Davis on keys, Mr. Martin Wind on bass, and Marcello Pelletieri playing hands on the snare and percussion on that track. So that album called "Take Me Anywhere." I really had a great time recording that, and especially working with those incredible musicians. And if you'd like a copy, of course, head on over to my website and you can pick one up. Now, normally we'd be spending a little time at the after party. We'd be hanging out at the bar at Room 623. Room 623 is a jazz club that I launched back in 2019 that didn't have a chance to make it to 1 year and to the 1 year anniversary point. We had to shut down in March along with everyone else. But we are committed to reopening, and I am happy to announce not a specific date, not just yet, but we are going to be reopening in the fall. That's what I will tell you. It's coming in the fall. This is what it looked like in Room 623. Beautiful little speakeasy joint. And any given night, there was just an incredible amount of positive, high energy jazz flowing out of there. Everyone just always left feeling better than they did when they arrived. Of course, that's our PayPal and our website. If you'd like to send us a little love at the club to help us reopen as strongly as possible, we want to make sure that we're as safe as we possibly can be when we do reopen, and so we can all gather together again and enjoy live music in person and feel the vibration of the bass that is played so incredibly by Mr. Michael O'Brien, who is still with me here and joining me for the after party, who has played several times at Room 623.
Yes.
And he can attest I'm not making any of this stuff up.
It's a great room. I mean, thank you for creating the room, and I'm so glad to hear that it's coming back.
Yes, we are coming back, and it's going to be
fantastic.
It's going to be better than it ever was, and I'm really excited. And
Nice.
of course, and you know how small it is. We're a cozy space, so we want to make sure that that we make sure we take every precaution that we possibly can. I guess I'll say this now. Head to our website for our protocols and whatnot, so you can well in advance make sure we are going to be making sure that vaccinated folks are coming in down into the club, because we are, again, a wee space, and we want to make sure everyone can relax and feel comfortable. So there's I think an app we're going to be working with, Michael. You've probably seen this thing floating around, the Excelsior app. And so
I've heard word of it.
You have the Excelsior app where you can register. Anyone who's gotten vaccinated is on it automatically. You just have to create a login and then automatically download your badge, or just bring your card and show us. And that way we'll relax and enjoy your beautiful playing. Did you have a good nosh? Did you get everything to take care of you in the green room?
Yep. Yeah, I got a little hydration, a little noshation. It was good.
A little noshation.
Yeah.
I like that. So, all right. So let's pick up where we left off.
Okay.
But before we get to your composing, this year, obviously everyone, was forced to take a sharp turn away from where they were headed. So I want to know, initially, two things really. First of all, did you embrace the transition and say, okay, now we're online. Great, I'm online now. Or was it a moment of like, what does that mean? And how does this vibe with my animal? And how do I adjust? And maybe I'm not, but I want the gig, but I don't know. Was it an immediate change for you, or more of a process? And then, after a while, and now as we're especially, venturing into the next chapter, my follow-up question, which is, what will you keep what will you keep with you from however you have changed as an artist? So 2 in 1 for you.
2 in 1, and they're good ones. Those are well done. You ask great questions, Mark.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And also, great tune. That beautiful tune. It's a beautiful tune you wrote.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have such a great way with lyrics as well. I want to commend you on that. I've been, the originals I've heard, even your theme song, the lyrics are just great. You have a great turn of words.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. That means a lot coming from you.
Thank you. That's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to hear it.
Oh, no, you. No.
Oh, but no, you go.
Tell me. Please, tell me.
Yeah, stop.
Oh, no, I can't. But what more about me?
Please, get one more.
Just one. We got time. Why not? Do we? We got time? Okay, tell me anything.
It's the after party.
All right, let's get serious.
We're going to be here until 3. I mean,
exactly. So tell me, Mike, what was it like for you?
Well, it was a humdinger. Not in just like not even just the way the whole world stopped, which in a way was one of the 2 ways that I would ever have stopped working in the world. Because I don't think anyone that knows me, it's no secret that I'm a massive workaholic. I live to work. I love to play and work, and because what I do, I love so much, I don't want to stop doing it. So
Yeah.
it's work in such that I just love to do it. So I just can't seem to have, I don't really have good breaks. So that being said, a few days before the whole thing went south and the entire world got shut down, I actually was on my way to do a video shoot, little video audition with a group, and I tripped on the last couple stairs getting to the subway, and I fell over, and I caught myself, and I tried to roll out of it, but in that roll, I rolled my thumb under my hand and severely sprained my thumb on my right hand,
Oh, no.
and it was bad. It was a bad sprain, a really bad sprain. So between COVID and then my hand injury, there was no way. But those were the two things that would have stopped me from working at all. Is one, injury, and then B, there was no gigs in the world. So it's okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to sit home and recuperate. Thankfully, there wasn't anything too serious that I can think of, because I was supposed to have a follow-up appointment with a hand specialist, and that was on April 2nd, and then that's when they shut down all hospitals and everything really shut down in New York. So I never saw anybody, and I couldn't see anybody for months. So it healed on itself. So it's well, I think it's it doesn't hurt anymore. So it works. That's good.
Human body is fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It is. So it was quite a process. It was quite a mental process and an emotional process. And then I was just kind of waylaid. I mean, I couldn't do anything, and nothing was happening. Everything's closed. And then I live in Queens, and I was within walking distance of Elmhurst Hospital, which was the epicenter of everything, the worst in the city. And so it was just hunkered down. And it took me a couple of weeks to really. I started just. I immediately started thinking, as did with a number of other musicians, we started commiserating. I knew that once my hand got better, we got to do something. How are we going to keep things going? And at that time, we weren't sure about unemployment insurance, and even when we got improved for unemployment insurance, it didn't come for months, and so it was a lot. It was a lot of taking stock and trying to shift your finances and see what you can do, and it was dicey and it was intense. But at the same time, my focus was, okay, well, this is a new situation. How can I make this work? So I got together with other musicians. We talked. I had attended some forums. I took one thing from a forum from a choreographer, actually a dance group, a whole troupe, that they put it in the best way I can think of, and I've reiterated and repeated this to many people, and it's also became my mantra during this whole period, is that we had to shift from being a performing arts company or performing artists to social media artists, because that's our platform. And so it's well, what do I got to do? What do I have in my house? What technology do I have to make this happen? And luckily, oddly enough, over the years, I'd accumulated a number of things that I could start using to make content and whatnot. There's a couple things extra, and I was I bought another microphone. I kind of upgraded some things. I upgraded some software, because I was I'm going to do this. We're going to make this happen. And also, speaking of Allison Briggs, she was really intrepid in the same way. She's kind of the same mindset of okay, let's make this work. So she was I want to keep everybody, the band, kind of still, all the guys working and have us keep things going. So let's do videos. Let's start shooting videos. And so we started teching that, figuring out how to do it technology wise. And so over a number of videos and attempts and tries, it just kept getting better and better. We kept refining. And then I was able, since I had enough studio equipment in my apartment, not that I ever wanted to be an engineer or do any home recording, but because I never thought my apartment in New York City would be a good enough studio. I never set it up to be. Right. And my neighbors are loud. So I was well, how am I going to do this? So
there's a siren going by.
Exactly.
No horns in this track.
Yeah. Could you keep your kids from yelling? But I was I was able to okay, there's a window of time from 11 to 5 or 11 to 4.
Hurry up.
It's kind of quiet. So I got to just go and set up and record. But some people, I was able to get hired to do some home recording and hired to do some videos, and also doing some collaborative videos with people. So my mindset was just okay, this is just a wrinkle. Let's make this work. How can we make this work? we were
Yeah.
already doing one of the hardest things to do and the hardest times to do it. So, and that was before COVID. So it's like,
Yeah.
might as well just like, let's roll with this punch. All right.
So did you? So I hear you making lots of videos and whatnot, and it doesn't seem like you had a problem basically turning the cameras on your private space at home because for you again, as you've said, like it's all about making music, and that's the most important thing.
Right.
And so that was like, all right, we're gonna make this work, and music's gonna carry me through, almost in like how in New Orleans it's used religiously to carry them through
Yeah,
tragedies of all kinds. I mean, there's that famous
absolutely.
art piece, the musicians dance, playing on the roof during Katrina. I don't know if you know that series.
Mm,
I'm blanking on the artist right now. Maybe if someone knows who's listening can type it in. But it's a beautiful idea and it's that there's this sacredness, and it's so
yeah.
integrated in the use of music as opposed to and because I didn't have that personal experience where I was like, I'm going to rely on the production and creation of music with my fellow colleagues and whatnot to get through this. Because for me, it was a different, like the whole putting the camera and what I'm doing right now was like, hmm,
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know. It was different. So I really commend your ability to, I mean, just stay, again, I mean, it goes back to your high school days where you just knew exactly, you were so connected to, your drive and what moves you. And to be able to provide that, I mean, I've seen some of your stuff online too that you were doing in those early days. And I know that there were a lot of people that found a lot of healing on the other end, receiving the music that you were a part of and a part of creating. And so
Well,
while
that's good. Yeah. I mean,
there were
yeah,
a bunch of people like me who were like, you know what? Can't I just this isn't my vibe right now, and I have to be true
sure.
to that.
Yeah.
There were thankfully people like yourself who were, in a sense, I say this a couple of times already, but I truly believe that artists are often called upon in times of tragedy to provide
Hmm.
support for people, and in the form of concerts, benefits, et cetera, and so forth,
Yeah.
telethons. And in that way, it's after the amazing work of our first responders come the artists
Hmm.
and to carry us through, and we provide that lift, that connection, that intangible language that people can kind of wrap around their hearts. So in that way you are a second responder, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank
I
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your composing, and then I'd love to hear you play some more.
Okay. All right.
So you did you two questions. I'm giving you the two in one. It's the
All
it's
right.
a
Hey,
special. The
I'm
Mondays with
game.
Mark is special. Um,
Hey.
so when did you realize that you were, I know you said you started writing bass lines in high school. But when it came to writing full songs that you've now since recorded on the album that we showed earlier, Tunes I Like to Play, um, when did you realize that you wanted to and that you could compose, beautiful music? And I don't state that, it's just an opinion. I think anyway, it's really accessible. And I think it speaks to, I mean, you're offering something very substantial. I'll put it that way.
Oh, thank you
And
so
it can
much.
speak to a lot of people. So when was that decision? And then how do you approach your songwriting and your composing since you decided like, oh, I'm a composer? Then what?
Well, that's that's kind of the eternal question, really. It's like
Hmm.
I'm composed this music. Now, what do I do with it? Like,
Well, my question is actually not what do you do with it? My question is, I realize, so if I'm
well,
you,
yeah.
you realize you're a composer and you're
Hmm.
writing songs and whatnot. So, but after you wrote your first song, which I'd love to know when and what that was, then what did you design a process by which you stick to? Do you have writing time every day? How do you approach your composing?
Yeah. I think, I guess in the same way, I'm realizing and just telling my tale today, and as you pointed out, there's kind of an organic. There's just an organicism to it. I just did it. I just kind of started doing it. Like I mentioned with the saxophone when I was in elementary school and junior high, into high school, I would write music. I would just kind of write these little grooves and whatnot, and then with inspirational coffee, I started writing most of the
I
tunes.
can't
I
wait to
like
check
it.
this band out. This
Yeah.
is
Well, it's funny that because we just over this COVID period, I guess we all had time, and one of the members and a guy that we worked with as a producer and arranger, he reached out to us after a bunch of years, like 20 some odd years, and said, "Hey guys, I found the record that we did in the studio that we didn't release, and I'll send it to you." And suddenly I just got this CD in the mail of something I did when I was 19 or 20, and I was like, what? And then we had a little Zoom chat. So it's always interesting. This is all coming together. The inspirational coffee has loomed up in my life more than it has in 20 some odd
Wow.
years
How do
in
you
the
how do
last
you
this last
spell
few months.
how do you spell reunion tour? Does that
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
one word
think.
or two?
Yeah,
I've
I
never
think. Yeah, I
never
think
tell.
maybe we might have to work on something like this. So yeah, I would write. It was just kind of it was in me. It was just these things, or
Mhm.
there'd be ideas, and I would just get inspired, oftentimes late at night, and drive my parents crazy, like being in a part of the house, like strumming my bass and singing, and while they're trying to sleep. But um, yeah, it was just kind of an organic thing. I generally write only when I get really a hit of inspiration, and
Got it.
I've had periods of like more inspiration than not. I mean, I guess you have periods where you don't
Mhm.
really feel like it. Actually, during this whole pandemic period, I've written a few pieces that I've been workshopping with people. So I've got, since I had the time really, and I could just sit down and take an idea and like, okay, let me flesh this out. Let's write this. Um,
Great.
when I first moved to New York, I mean, that was kind of one of the things that inspired me to move to New York, because I lived in and played professionally in the Twin Cities for about 9 years before I moved here, and
Mhm.
it was just part of that was I wanted to pursue my writing and band leading and composing, and so that's what I kind of started doing when I first moved to town. I was lucky enough to get a regular gig at Fat Cat about once a month for a quintet of mine, and I was able to workshop a bunch of material.
That's
And
great.
yeah, so it's just
That's the
kind of an
beauty of the
organic
city
thing.
too, and again, I commend you again to staying open. I think that's one of the most important parts of being a songwriter, composer, lyricist of any type, in creative writing and whatnot. But to stay open to what's around you and what's inside you when you notice that spark and to act
Hmm.
on it. And often
Right.
when I first started out writing, it was like I wasn't hip to how sacred that that is
There it is.
an idea comes and you think, oh, it's just an idea. And then I soon learned like those ideas are the golden nuggets that can
Right.
spawn, who knows what. Um,
Yeah.
so I would love to hear you play. If you're comfortable playing an original
Sure.
tune,
I
great. I don't
am.
want to put you on the spot. You can play whatever you like,
Not at
of
all.
course. But Mr. Michael O'Brien is going to play for us again. Please put your hands together
Woo!
so we can, yeah, or don't, because he's going to do it for himself.
I got you. Like I can't
I
hear
got
you, so I'm just
you.
gonna go.
Applause is on us. No,
I'm,
Mr.
a,
Michael,
I'm
Michael
assuming that's what you're
O'Brien.
doing at home. Ah,
People can barely keep it together, Michael. I'm telling you. During this interview, it's like they're like, "Oh my God," they're fanboying out over you.
it's just nuts. Yeah, it's just send it to Venmo.
Send your applause to Venmo, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Michael O'Brien.
All right. So this is an original of mine that's on both the CD tunes I like to play, and then my friends. Speaking of the Twin Cities, I did a record 2 years ago with two great pianists and drummer who were major influences and dear collaborators of mine back in my formative years, and that's on a record called Triage. This is an original of mine called Jinx. We'll see if you're it. Jigs.
Michael O'Brien, which is also, oh, I think I might have been muted. That is Jinx by Michael O'Brien, and that is from his album Tunes I Like to Play. And you can get that on anywhere you like your music, but the physical album you can actually purchase on Amazon Music. You can hold an actual CD in your hand and thumb through the story of the creation of that album, get to know Michael O'Brien a little bit better. And of course, if you'd like to send Michael a couple of shekels his way to donate to his process of being a human on this planet and a musician and a second responder. Here's all the information about Michael O'Brien. Michael also has a gig coming up on June 9th. This is
Yes.
going to be at Anita's Way on 42nd Street. So this is going to be
Yep.
right in the heart of Tourist Village.
Mhm.
And
Indeed.
I bet you can't wait.
No, man.
But it's so that's on 42nd between I think 6th and Broadway. Is that in the area right in that where that is?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a square. You can access it from multiple different places, and
Right,
it's an
right.
outdoor situation, so it's timely. Hopefully, it will be not 90 degrees.
Man, oh, I hope not. Yeah.
And of course, that information is ticking along the bottom right now for you to copy down as you see fit.
Thanks, guys.
Michael, this has been so great. I don't want to let you off the hook without a couple of things. First of
Okay, sure.
all, my last question to you, there was a part of it that went a little unanswered, and I do want to know, and I got to get this
Oh,
for the
right.
record, but what about you that changed this past year? Will you work hard to make sure that stays with you moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things, maybe more personally, I mean, I learned how to actually slow down for a little bit, which I never was good at, and
I can
it's
see that. Not in
it's
you.
a total struggle. But I mean, having to have to sit and not be able to do anything, I was able to, it kind of slowed the pace of myself. So I'm trying to figure out ways of like maintaining that while maybe I'm to degrees of success with this. I mean, because now I've gotten back into playing, and there's, I might go back to my old ways, but I'm trying to think of like ways of carving out for myself time to relax and time to really take stock
Beautiful.
and
I
not be too nuts.
I hope you do, and happy to be some accountability reflection for you. That's on my list too. I think that we're in one of the toughest cities to maintain that slower pace.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now, one of the things I liked about the city was like it's full of other work obsessed, ambitious workaholics like myself, and so I was like, well, this is my town. This is for me. But then, yeah, it'll be interesting.
All right. Before we get into your lightning round, share a secret with us that you've never shared with anyone else before on camera.
On camera, let's see. I thought I'd share that I was really, really into and really good at breakdancing when I was in like fourth grade, fifth grade.
Wow.
I was all about it.
I want to. I'm so very tempted. I wish you had a full body cam to your studio here so we could see some of this. Next time you come on, I would love to see two things. I want the performances from Inspirational Coffee, and I want to see you breakdancing in the solos.
It might actually be break dancing. I might break something if I do it.
You might break dancing. Actually,
yeah, I could break dancing. That's true.
All right, Seth. Well, if Seth, you're ready, we're going to queue up. Michael, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Are you ready for your own lightning round?
Sure, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mondays with Marcus proudly presents the lightning round.
I love the lightning. That was great.
All right, here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please give me your favorite animal.
Tiger.
When it rains and you don't have your base, do you run for cover or do you let yourself get a little wet first?
Get a little wet. Sure, get a little wet. If I don't have my base, yeah.
What's scarier, not being able to see the bottom of the lake or climbing through a mountain in the dark?
Ooh, probably the lake. Right at the bottom of the lake.
I'm so with you. I need to see that stuff. Give me a choice. Is it Pop Rocks or Fireballs for you?
Fireballs.
Interesting. Okay. What's your favorite jingle?
Oh, favorite jingle, man. Let's see. Transformers.
More than meets the eye.
Yeah,
Nice. Although I would offer, I
that's
should have
kind of
been
a
more
theme song.
clear.
Yeah,
It is a
sorry.
theme song, but
Yeah.
a darn good one. Michael, what is your superpower?
I'm indefatigable. I just don't stop.
Wow. All right. I love that. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Probably a cartwheel.
I'm going to hold you to that.
All right.
Is the boogeyman real?
The boogeyman is real in your head.
So very real. Who's your favorite composer?
Ooh, I'd say Charles Mingus.
And lastly, your favorite TV show theme song?
See, I was ready for this. Barney Miller, without a doubt. That
Okay.
bass line, even before I played bass or played music, that bass line was in my head as a kid, like boom.
Totally.
Doo-doo-doo.
Yeah. We had someone actually I think it was during the first or second episode who called out Barney Miller as one of his favorites as well.
Nice,
And
interesting.
that music from back then, those theme
They were the
shows.
best. Yeah, I mean, Taxi. That's another one. I always like as a
Yeah,
kid. That was like,
they were
killing.
great. Someone brought up Mannix 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow,
Like 2 weeks ago or last week, I was like, that's a hip tune. That's a hip tune.
It
Well,
is.
congratulations, Michael. You made it to through the lightning round. It was great
Thank
to
you.
have you on the show. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael O'Brien. You want to
Thank you so
support
much,
us
Marcus.
every which way that you can. Again, June 9th at Anita's Way.
Come on
And
out.
you want to check him out. He's going to be with Kyoko. Please pronounce her name correctly for me.
Oyobe, Kyoko Oyobe.
Oyobe.
Yeah.
It's always the emphasis I get concerned about.
It
I never
is.
know which it is. So it's
That
Oyobe.
is, yeah.
Okay, so it's her group, and Michael will be keeping it all together on June 9th. What time again on June 9th? What's the hit?
3 to 5.
Nice.
Afternoon.
When the sun is nice and
The dead of just
moist,
like,
right
yeah.
in that sticky New York. It's going to
Yeah,
be
just
great.
come and
Bring
get
it out.
soupy with us. Yeah.
Come and get soupy with us, man. Yes. If that's not the name of your next record, I don't know what.
Well, I think it is now. Yeah, I think you're right.
What it is. Oh, well, thanks again so much, Michael. Folks,
Thank
if
you
you
so
would
much,
like
Marcus.
to support this series, again, we accept all kinds of donations. Well, not really all kinds of donations. We
No.
prefer one specific kind of donation, but here's the information on how you can do that, either through PayPal or Venmo. Again, if you're going to do something through PayPal, please remember that we are wink, wink, nudge, nudge friends. And make sure and do subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get updated on all kinds of fun videos and when we're going to be streaming next, as well as access to past archived episodes. Next week, we are going to welcome Miss Svetlana into the studio. If you don't know Svetlana, she's an incredible jazz singer and songwriter as well. And there she is. There's all the information about Svetlana. Man, I can't wait to chat with her. It's going to be a good time, and she's going to be singing for us live as well. That's June 14th at 5:30 per usual. Folks, that is going to do it for our show today. I'm so grateful for you all for sticking with me these 10 episodes so far. Michael, you're the 10th episode. How about that? We humans, we like round numbers, and so we'll celebrate you being our 10th episode. Just a heads up, this June, this is our closing month for season 1. How about that? Talk to the network, and it's very exciting that we've been picked up for a second season. So
I'm good. Well, that's good. You should.
Yeah, so we're gonna,
congratulations.
Our sponsors came through, and they really put in a little extra bump. And so, and one of these days when we get sponsors, of course, but so we'll pick things back up in the fall, but we'll finish out in June, and then we'll take off for July and August, of course, for all you who are planning out your Mondays with Marcus schedule at home. So that's going to do it for us today. Thanks again to Michael. Thank you to Seth. And wherever you are, please continue to stay safe, stay compassionate, and stay engaged. Bye-bye.
Everybody loves a perfect theme song, a melody that stays inside your heart. You might have a nice show and others may think so, but if you want a great connection right from the start, then you gotta have a perfect theme song, so everyone can sing along from home. And while they are singing, the ratings you'll bring in, all because the melody is stuck in their head. You can make the bridge sound Jewish, that would be fine, long as it's familiar but newish, everyone's falling in line. All because you got a perfect theme song, accompanying the audience for years. And when the show is over, it won't be the end, because the perfect theme song's a life-lasting friend. And speaking of friends, he's your host and MC, 'cause Mondays with Marcus is now a live stream. Whoa, whoa, whoa.